Now, in the midst of Anglo American strategic restructuring, it appears that investor confidence is on the upswing. And joining us to provide further insights into the company's rebuilding plans is editor-at-large for Financial Mail, Marc Hassenfuss. Thank you so much for your time, Marc. Let's actually start off with where we come from, because there was really this strong negative reaction from the market last year. Quite a lot that was surprising in terms of production cuts and the like there in that stable. Would you say that Anglo American is still stuck, in the middle of cyclical impacts? And also, what is the ratio of what they can control and what they can control at this point?
Yeah, thank you. It's a very interesting story. It's not written by myself. So the point, it was David McCar's story, and he's an absolute mining expert. So it's a very interesting read, I think. Yeah, look, I mean, Anglo is I suppose, the stalwart commodity share, diversified commodity for all South African shareholders. Is probably the one people look at first, the oldest, the longest history. As long as I can remember, and that goes back a long time, as you can probably see, Anglo has always been restructuring. I mean, I can remember Menorca being reincorporated, the reincorporation of De Beers, the unbundling of the industrial assets. Quite recently, we had Tungela being spun out. So it's forever changing. It's not going to, I suppose that'll always be the case. It's the commodity cycles swing up and down, and there's always stress and strains. I find it very difficult what the CEO is trying to do, Duncan Wanblad. He's going to try and get cash flow through the cycle. I don't know. The cycles are, to me, I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
It's fantastic if he can, because it adds some kind of stability to Anglo. But to be honest, I think these kind of companies are always going to suffer the vagaries of the cycle. And what we are seeing now is a little bit of an upswing in the copper price, quite nicely. Anglo's lifted very nicely. I mean, I think it up more than 50, maybe 17% at the moment for this month, which for over a month or 30 days or so, which is a nice little lift for people who were brave enough to go into Anglo when it wasn't looking very good a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, quite interesting that you talk about restructuring and also trying to generate cash through the cycle. Of course, this is quite a downward cycle at the moment. Are investors concerned about any of Anglo American's own decisions, during this cycle, particularly when it comes to capital allocation?
Yeah, no, this is the interesting part of the story, and I thought quite a nice little touch is that David spoke to Marc, the former CEO, and I suppose he's been quite veiled, but he did suggest that maybe there's a risk of cutting too much at certain parts, and you lose expertise, and ultimately it would kind of be costly. And I suppose that it's a risk when you do stuff like this. I mean, Anglo Platinum, as you know, those are serious cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness, that's kind of game-changing cuts. So yes, I mean, it's probably worth debating these things. But if he gets it right, and Anglo will be in the lead by far. It's done the hard yards and the difficult stuff. So yes, it could work out. I suppose in my case, I'm kind of watching and waiting. I wouldn't like to give a verdict on it yet, but I think he's doing some interesting things, and clearly he's going to dig hard and deep. I mean, if Anglo Plat's the way he's looking at things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just talking about this restructuring, because I think the two pain points that have really come out is Anglo American Platinum, but also De Beers. Are there any questions or suggestions from the market about what Anglo American could do or should do with De Beers?
Well, I mean, I think every person's got an opinion about that. I don't know. Diamonds haven't been great for quite a while. There was a little bit of a spike recently. I know companies I follow, like Transect, suddenly made money, which is quite nice, and looks like it's gone back down into its shell again, and it's not looking that great. I kind of try and follow up what's happening with synthetic diamonds. That does seem to be having an impact. When people start talking like the story does about creating ETFs for diamonds and things like that, you kind of wonder, geez, how desperate is it getting? Not that it's a bad idea. I think it's quite an interesting idea, in fact. Just that, I'm not sure diamonds really fits with Anglo anymore. I mean, Anglo Gold many years ago was spun out and let go, and probably a good thing. I'm not sure about De Beers. I'm not sure how attractive it is, and it's a really big operation. What do you do with it? You can't sell it, and I don't suppose you could list it separately or unbundle it at this point. It's not a great juncture to do that. It's a very, very tough thing to have to deal with, and I suppose I guess they'd have to watch and wait. I don't think I'd make any decision if I was the CEO. I'd just have to see if we can maybe get through the cycle and see if there's a better time to do something with it.
Yeah. Do you think that the stock at this point has re-rated to the point where, it's appropriate for what the risk-reward ratio looks like at this point in this cycle?
That's $1 million question, yeah. To be frank, I don't know. I'm not sure I'd be able to, would want to commit to that. I think maybe the easy money's been made already on this little rebound.
Yeah, okay.
I think the market might pause now a little bit.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the other options the market could look at, they're ones that are far riskier, but the upside is got a lot more potential. I'm going to mention something like Sibanye, which also looks quite interesting. The opposite's happening there, obviously. But yeah, I think I'd be kind of cautious on Anglo. I'd watch it. I mean, good for those people who bought in. They did well, and maybe now just let it mature a while.
All right. Just to wrap up the conversation, any bright spots, I mean, for the people that are already in the stock and that are really hoping for quite significant upward momentum? I don't know how significant, though, it would be. Any bright spots that investors are focusing on or holding on at this point from here on out?
Well, maybe watch for what happens at Anglo Platinum. I mean, I'm doubtful about the dividend, but I think there will be indications there of how that's going. If that's going well, it's going to be kind of, I suppose, a little bit of a form for the rest of Anglo American, and maybe just watch Anglo Platinum, watch developments there, see how that's going, because that's a very important kind of event within the organization.
Yeah, and here's to all of us hoping that those PGM stocks and the prices have bottomed at this point. Thank you so much for your time, Marc. Appreciate it. That was Editor-at-Large for Financial Mail, Marc Hassenfuss.